So what are we talking about today? 5 horrible movies! Today we're going to be talking about 5 movies that suck. Xmen Apocalypse. Oh wow, let me get started with this. Xmen Apocalypse. I was really looking forward to this movie. Like, you have no idea how much I was looking forward to this movie. I remember there was a particular time in my life where I was extremely depressed, and I saw the teaser trailer for this. And I know a lot of people said, oh, the teaser trailer sucks. But I saw the teaser trailer, and I was like, this movie is going to be epic. It's going to be intense. It's a disaster movie. And the central figure is literally God. The thing that I thought this movie was going to do was it was going to tackle the whole God thing. I thought it was going to have a God element to it, where it's like the thing I love about the X-Men franchise. I don't love all the movies, but the thing I love about what they do the most is that they integrate mutant mythology into American history, into our reality. And they switch things around and they alter things, you know? And I like it when they do that. And so I thought with this they were going to tackle the whole, not, you know, like the literal God, you know, like Jesus and the Bible and stuff like that. But I thought they were going to tackle the whole revelation thing. Like, yeah, God, who is a mutant in this case, comes back to the human race. He destroys the human race with the apocalypse, just like in the Bible. And it's a mutant. This God is a mutant, and that's what I thought this was going to be. And when I saw the movie, they kind of went in that direction, but they didn't quite go there, and so I was very disappointed with this movie. It wasn't what I was expecting. The movie, it was fun, it was enjoyable, but it really could have been so much better. Like, coming off of Days of Future Past was a hard goal to follow. Like, it was so difficult, and I mean, but this movie could have been great. This movie could have been so great. Like, I mean, it was fun, it was fine. I liked Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse. I didn't mind him as Apocalypse. I know a lot of people want to make fun of him and say, oh, he looks like Ivan Ooze and all that stuff, but I thought he looked fine. I thought Jennifer Lawrence was fine. I didn't hate her in the movie. But this movie could have been so much more. I don't hate this movie, but it is definitely a horrible movie because it did not live up to its potential. It could have been so much better. I was very disappointed with this movie. Coming up next is a movie I don't think anyone sees coming. Conjuring 2. Yes, I said it, The Conjuring 2. Now, I know this is a highly popular movie, and I understand that. I mean, the horror franchise, look, I grew up as a horror fan. I love the original Evil Dead. I love the first Candyman movie. I'm a horror fanatic, man. But as of lately, the horror franchise sucks. Okay, it sucks. I mean, we got good movies like Don't Breathe, stuff like that. But as far as horror is concerned, in this day and age, it sucks. Okay, it's horrible. So The Conjuring is like a breath of fresh air, right? I saw the first Conjuring movie, and I liked it. I wasn't scared. It didn't, like, do really anything for me, but I enjoyed it because James Wan is an extremely skillful director. He knows how to direct a horror movie. As far as action is concerned, that's another story. But he is a fantastic horror director. He knows what to do. He knows what he wants. He knows how to get to an audience, right? So I enjoyed the first movie, not because it was scary, just because it felt like a really skillful directed movie from a very skillful director. Like, he knew what he was doing. So I watched The Conjuring 2, and to me, it just seemed like a cheap thrill ride where it was like, to me, there was really no element in the movie that really gave me anything. Like, while I was watching the movie, I felt like this is nothing but a bunch of jump scares, CGI, a predictable plot that goes nowhere really. I mean, by the end of the movie, it's like I already knew what to expect. I mean, the ending credits of this movie is the scariest part of the movie to me. Like, as I was watching it, I was like, there's this unnecessary CGI happening throughout the movie. There's this ridiculous like premonition that happens throughout the movie, and you're like, I already know how it's going to end, man. You can't fool me. And then it's like just a bunch of silly jump scares that take place in it, and it is just complete. Like, I remember I saw it in the theater for the first time, and I said to myself, oh, it's fine. And then the more and more I thought about it, the more and more I hate this movie. This is a cheap movie. It was effective for like your general audience who I guess doesn't really go to horror, doesn't really like horror, something like that. I mean, it's skillfully directed. Yes, I give it that. But as far as like scary or a really engaging story is concerned or anything like that, no, this movie doesn't have any of that. This movie absolutely sucks. I'm sorry. I was really looking forward to this. Believe it or not. Blair Witch. There's no Blair Witch. Oh, the Blair Witch. Oh, now. I love the Blair Witch Project. Yes, I said it. You heard me. The Blair Witch Project, I think, is one of the greatest horror movies ever made. One of the greatest horror movies ever made. The Blair Witch Project. I remember seeing that movie when I was a little bitty boy. And I watched it for the first time, and it scared me to death, and it holds such a special place in my heart. And maybe I'm being a bit biased when I see the movie now that I am an adult, because it holds such a dear memory in my brain and in my heart. But I don't care. I will defend the Blair Witch Project to this day. It is a legitimate horror movie. It is scary because it's ambiguous and you have no idea what is happening. Now, on to the remake, Blair Witch. I was very excited for this movie because I heard that Adam Wingard was in charge of directing, right? Now, I saw his movie called The Guest, which I enjoyed. It was fun and entertaining. And I liked a couple of his segments on the VHS franchise, which was good. So I had hope with this. I had faith. I was like, okay, Adam Wingard, he knows horror pretty much. I think this will be good. I was still a bit hesitant because I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. But I remained optimistic. I saw the trailer for Blair Witch. First, it was called The Woods. No one knew it was Blair Witch. It was called The Woods at first. And then I remember seeing that trailer like, oh, this looks intriguing. And this is when it was called The Woods. I was like, oh, that looks intriguing. And then it was revealed at Comic-Con earlier in 2016 that it's a Blair Witch sequel. And I was like, wow, that okay. And then everyone's ranting and raving in the horror community like, oh, this is so good, man. This is a good movie. And I'm like, all right, I'm excited. And then you watch the trailer. And the trailer, I thought it looked good. I was like, oh, okay, that looks good. All right. And I remember opening night, I saw it on Thursday night. I was so excited. The atmosphere outside was amazing. It was pouring rain outside. It was dark. It was cold. It was gloomy. And I loved it. And I was like, this is the perfect atmosphere to watch Blair Witch in. And I went to the theater. I was so excited. I bought my ticket. I sat down. As soon as the movie started, I was in. I was like, yes. And I will admit, for the first 5 minutes, I was engaged. I was a little scared. My childhood memories came rushing back to me. And then after the first 5 minutes, the movie just went completely downhill. This movie sucks so bad, man. This movie is just a bunch of jump scares. It's just a bunch of nonsense that doesn't make any sense. It's a completely incohesive movie. It makes no sense to why any of these characters are doing the things they're doing. They're just used as plot devices. That is it. This movie does nothing. I mean, yeah, it slightly expands on the Blair Witch mythology, but other than that, this movie does absolutely nothing. This movie sucks so bad. I was really disappointed with this movie. I watched it again a few nights ago, and it still sucks. And this movie's awful. This movie's awful. If you're a hardcore Blair Witch fan, you will not like this movie, I don't think. If this movie was just called The Woods and if it wasn't a Blair Witch sequel, then I think I would let it go. But this is just like what I talked about in my other video with like Jurassic World and the Star Wars Force Awakens. This is a reboot. This is a direct remake of the first movie, but it's masquerading around as a sequel. I'm very passionate about this. That's why I'm so upset that this movie was awful, because I am a hardcore Blair Witch fan, and this movie really disappointed me. I think the Blair Witch franchise is dead now because of this, but I was really disappointed with this movie. This movie sucks, man. Seriously. Training Day on Crack. That's what I wanted from this. But it didn't give it to me. No, it did not. Triple Nine. Triple Nine. I had no idea what it was until 2015, late 2015, where I was working for the school district during this particular period in my life, and I had stumbled upon the Triple Nine Red Band trailer. And, excuse me, when I first saw this trailer, I was completely blown away. If you have not seen the Triple Nine Red Band trailer, watch it. If you like just gritty, realistic, hardcore violence, man, I'm telling you. Like, I showed it to a friend of mine that I was working with, and he said it's like the live version of Grand Theft Auto, man. Like, that Red Band trailer was amazing, right? And it looked like it was going to be good. I mean, because if you look at the cast of characters in this movie, you got Casey Affleck, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Anthony Mackie, Aaron Paul, Norman Reedus, Woody freaking Harrelson, man, one of the greatest actors alive today, in my opinion, and Kate Winslet. This has a phenomenal cast of characters. These are all stars, man. And they're all great actors, like Casey Affleck. He's a great actor. Chiwetel Ejiofor, he's a great actor. Anthony Mackie, I mean, I only know him as Falcon. I've seen him in some other small projects. We need to see what he does later on in his career. Aaron Paul, I only know him from Breaking Bad, and he was in that Need for Speed movie, and that wasn't really good. Norman Reedus, I mean, the Boondock Saints, Walking Dead, stuff like that. But Woody Harrelson, man, Natural Born Killers, man. Everything that Woody Harrelson is in, he's phenomenal. And then Kate Winslet, I really don't pay attention to her, so I don't know. But this movie has an all-star cast. So what went wrong with this? Seriously. And it's directed by Joe Hillcoat. Joe Hillcoat, I only seen one movie of his, and it was called Lawless, and it was about the Prohibition era. It was a very serious movie, and it was pretty good. But the thing I like about Joe Hillcoat is that when he shows violence on the screen, it is realistic violence, man. I'm telling you, realistic violence that he shows on screen. And so, like I said, when I saw the Red Band trailer for this, I was completely excited. It was my number one most anticipated movie of 2016, seriously, because that trailer, I was like, I wanted Training Day on crack. And Training Day is a good movie. But this version needed to be on crack. Like, take Training Day and put it times 10. Okay, and so when this movie finally arrived, I was very excited. But beforehand, I had read a couple of reviews, and a lot of people were like, oh, well, it was very mixed reviews. And so I watched Triple Nine in the theater. And as I was sitting there, I was engaged in the story because there was a lot going on, which I liked. You know, I had to wrap my brain around, like, who was connected to who and who was setting up who was betraying who, how does this leak to this, and whose name is that, and all that stuff. But then by the end of the movie, something happened that completely just turned my mind around, where I was just like, F this movie sucks, it is horrible. This movie, man, it could have been so great. It could have been so great. It could have won an Oscar if it wanted to, just like the way this movie is directed, the way it's handled. This movie could have been so intense and so engaging and so just adrenaline pumping and so just like dramatic and so heartfelt. It could have been all these things, but it was none of it. It was just your typical like street crime movie with a bunch of cops and robbers. You know, just like that old stuff. Like when Training Day came out, there was just like a whole spiral full of just like these dramatic cop movies that wanted to be like Training Day. And in my opinion, this is one of them. This whole cop trend thing is dead now. I mean, End of Watch, if you haven't seen that, watch that movie because it's way better than this. But Triple Nine could have been so much more. It had so much potential, and it just flushed it all down the toilet with a big dump, and it is awful, and this movie sucks, and I can't believe that it has this many phenomenal actors in it, and it is this bad. This movie is an atrocity, man. It sucks. What is number one? We shall see. Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. I absolutely loathe this movie. I loathe and detest this movie. It is an atrocity. It is one of the worst superhero movies ever made, honestly. Seriously, it's right up there. As far as I'm concerned, it's right up there. It's like, okay, listen. I love The Dark Knight by Christopher Nolan. I feel like The Dark Knight is the pinnacle of all comic book movies. It's the holy grail of comic book movies. Dark Knight is the number one comic book movie, right? And Batman is my number one favorite superhero out of all the superheroes. And Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, as far as I'm concerned, like, the actors aren't the problem. The actors are not the problem. It's the script by David S. Goyer, and it's the directing by Zack Snyder. Now, Zack Snyder, don't get me wrong, he's a visually stylish director. He knows how to direct something. Like, he knows how to craft a movie fantastic, in a fantastic way, right? But he is not a good storyteller. He doesn't know how to execute a good story. I don't like any of Zack Snyder's movies except 300, and that is it. All of his movies suck, in my opinion, including this. And now, it's not the dark tone that bothers me in this movie. No, it's not that. I love dark movies. Dark movies is my thing. I love dark movies. It's not the tone of this movie. It's the plot execution. It's the characters, the way they're executed. It's the scenes that are set up that don't make any logical sense. Like, for an example, here's a spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. In the opening scene of this movie, at first, when I was in the theater, I enjoyed it because it says, oh, Metropolis, the world is introduced to the Superman. And you see Bruce Wayne, he's driving through the destruction, and he runs into the cloud of smoke, which is an iconic shot. It's awesome. But when you sit back and you really think about it, you're like, wait a minute, this is all an illusion. This is an illusion, man. This is just playing with my mind, man, because when you really look at it, okay, number one, him driving that Jeep through the destruction is product placement. Seriously, because when you watch, when I saw television before this movie came out, watched television before this movie came out, and they showed that exact same sequence. It was just a little bit choppy, and it was a promotion for the Jeep. That's what that whole entire thing is a big fat piece of product placement. There's no reason he should be driving through that wreckage because it makes no sense. Because what in the hell is Bruce Wayne going to do? Driving through there, running into the cloud of smoke. Yes, it's a beautiful shot and it's an intense sequence, yes. But it doesn't make any logical sense. It's like, okay, what was Bruce Wayne going to do? Why was he going there in the first place? Oh, I'm going to save the people from my building. What can you do? You can't save those people from that building. You can't do anything. And then on top of that, it's like, why in the hell were they still in the building in the first place? They had to wait for Bruce Wayne to call and say, hey, get out of the building. It's like, obviously, dude, there's a bunch of destruction. Before he even called them, they already knew what was going on. Now, it would have made more sense if it's like he knew about it and then rushed there before the destruction even started and then told them to get out. That would have made more sense. But no, they already knew what was happening. He had to call them to get out. That makes no sense. Okay? And the whole entire movie, like, to me, it's just predictable. Like, everything in the movie is already laid out. I already knew what was happening. There's no mystery involved. The whole connection, the connective tissue to each character into the next scene doesn't make any sense. Like, another spoiler alert, Batman fighting Superman makes no sense. I mean, yes, Superman points out that, yeah, if I wanted you dead, you'd be dead already or whatever. And it's like, all right, then obviously he won't kill him because he has to save his mom. All right, fine. So, yeah, Superman fights Batman, but then he's like in a moral dilemma because he's like, I don't want to kill him because I'm not like that, but then I need to save my mom, so I need to kill him, but then I want to try and reason with him. And you could say, oh, yeah, he tries to reason with Batman at first, but then Batman won't let up, and so therefore Superman gets pissed off and then decides to like wimp fight him. Like, he doesn't go all in and try to like really fight him because, you know, if Superman punched Batman in the mouth one time, he's dead. But he doesn't do that. He holds back a little bit, and so it's like all Superman had to do. He's super strong. Instead of just pushing Batman for no reason, when Batman approaches him and says, "Yeah, I understand," and then he shoves him and then he throws him into a building, and he acts all cocky and stuff. And it's like, dude, all you had to do was hold him down for 2 seconds, look him in the eye, and say, "Listen, you idiot. Lex Luthor has my mom," and explain the whole thing to him and be like, listen, I don't want to fight you. Lex Luthor has my mom. He's been setting this up from the beginning, blah, blah, blah. All he has to do is hold him down. Batman couldn't do anything. If Superman lands on top of Batman and just holds him down to the ground, Batman can't do anything. He's weak. He can't move. His suit is weak. His suit, they don't even explain what his suit does. I mean, yeah, it withstands Superman's strength, but it doesn't really explain what it does. Like, the suit just shows up and it's like, oh, I mean, this movie only caters to people, yes, who have read the comics and all that stuff, but it doesn't cater to a general audience, okay? And that's the problem. It's like none of the stuff in the movie makes any sense. There's a bunch of extra fluff in there that doesn't need to be there. The movie tries to be more than what it is. It tries to be overly complicated for no reason whatsoever. It's just an awful movie, man. It could have been so great. It could have still been dark and depressing and all that, but then it could have made more logical sense. And just nothing in the movie makes sense. This is an awful movie. I hate it. Zack Snyder needs this. They should not let him direct this next movie. I'm really worried about Justice League. They really need to get rid of David S. Goyer as well. I don't like this movie. I really don't. It's awful, and it's the worst movie of 2016 in my opinion. Well, we've reached the end. Thank you for watching, and sayonara. Thank you for watching. If you would like to read my reviews on all the movies I've just mentioned, please look in the description box and then click on the IMDb links. I'll see you in 2017.